So fellas, it's been a few weeks now. I've been staying at home, self-isolating. It's time to get cracking. It's nighttime. Why don't we just do nighttime portrait photography? Let's get it done. Okay, so that's our setup just right behind us, and we got this Nikon D750 with 105mm 2.8. Let's get cracking. Okay, now that I'm doing the editing, let me just take you through some technical aspects of the shoot. So the shoot was taken at the front of my house, so there's nothing fancy. This is also to show you that as a photographer, your job is to make it work regardless of the situation, regardless of the environment. Because the reality is, when you do weddings, when you do christening, whatever the photography, very likely the environment's not going to be 100% perfect. So just face it, that's a reality. So your job as a professional is to make that work. Now let me start with the props that I use. So I found this skeleton jar a couple of weeks ago from the shop, so I bought it. The second prop is I used the fairy lights. I actually used two fairy lights, this one and the other one's inside the skeleton. So let me just turn it on. It's really nice and I use it for the background. I've chosen the warm white one, which is a bit yellowish compared to the cool white, which is a bit bluish. So this one works better for what I needed. And the other fairy lights actually pop that into the jar. So if I turn this on, so it's gonna look like this. Now I also use flash. So this is the Nikon SB700 controlled by the Pocket Wizard. This is the transmitter and this is the receiver, and I can actually control how strong the flash is using this unit which is attached to the camera. And in front of the flash I've got this mag mode. It's a mag mode honeycomb. If you look closer, it's got this honeycomb shape. For this specific shoot, I want the flash to go straight to one direction, that's why I use this. And also, it's not a must, but I use this orange gel. The purpose is because I've got these fairy lights that is a bit yellowish, and I want the color of the flash to just like match the overall ambience. So orange gel and honeycomb. I use the camera flash to aim to the subject's face either from the side, basically is to create the dimension, rather than from the front, which flatten out everything, there's no dimension. Or I use it to create separation between the subject and the background by highlighting the hair and the shoulder. As you can see right here, I'm using the flash to shoot from the side as the face actually being illuminated by the fairy lights. And these shots also got the lights from the side. And for this one, I use the flash as a separation. So as you can see, I'm actually shooting it from the back. So it actually creates the highlights as well as the highlights on the shoulder. So for the shoot, I use this Nikon D750 and paired with the prime lens Nikon 105mm macro 2.8. Because I was shooting at night time, so I set my camera to expose the fairy lights and the skeleton correctly. So I actually did not care too much about the darker parts of the photos because I knew for sure I can just bump up the exposure or the shadow. Thanks to the awesome raw files from Nikon, because it's easily fixed in post-production. Alright, so this is the camera setting that I use and the reasons why I actually chose these settings. Let's start with the shutter speed. I use a shutter speed of 125th of a second. That is, to me, is enough to freeze the subject. But if you think that your hand is a bit shaky, you can actually increase the speed to 1/60th of a second or maybe 250th of a second. And the next thing is the aperture. Because it's night time and I like to shoot with a shallow depth of field, and especially for portraits. So I use the biggest aperture that the lens can actually do, which is 2.8 in this circumstance. For some shots, I actually set the aperture to be a bit smaller to 3.5, but most of the time, most shots, it's 2.8 straight up. Now it's the ISO. Now the ISO is the last of my priority because I know that all the cameras these days, they're pretty good with the high ISOs. To me, as long as it doesn't go more than 4000, it's okay. So in these shots, the ISO is basically just acting to compensate whatever the shutter speed and the aperture that I've chosen. So I shot at between 1600 to 2500 for the ISO. Alright guys, so I really hope that you enjoyed the video and really learned something from the video. So if you do, please like, subscribe to my channel. That all means a lot to me. And if you have any questions, any feedback, suggestions, whatever that you're thinking, just go down below. You know what to do, and I'll read it through and I'll respond to you as well. I know isolation sucks, it sucks big time, but it's necessary for the time like these. Don't let it put you down. Keep creating, stay safe, stay healthy, stay together. We shall make it. Alright guys, love you, thank you for watching, and peace out until next video.